Okay, there we go. There we go. I should be able to be heard now. Okay. Hello. Hi. This is very impromptu. I didn't. I can't believe they made Kathy's political. Yeah. I might put this in IRL just for signal boosting because, does Hassan put himself in IRL or does he put himself in politics? Let's have a look see. Why is Kathy doing political stuff? I will get into that in just a moment. Okay, he's just in just chatting. Okay. Well, I'm throwing myself in just chatting then. Just gonna... I don't know. I'm not a Hassan enjoyer. It's fine. I figured it out. So normally I don't really do these types of streams or just this impromptu kind of stuff in general. Because I don't know. It's not really my thing. I don't. There's only been one time I ever actually talked politics on this stream, and I don't think it went that well because it wasn't really something I was that educated on. But this is something I did want to talk about because, oh my god, this is so unbelievably stupid. I cannot believe this is even happening. What is my... Okay, no, that's just drop frames. Okay. So, also, for anyone wondering why the mic sounds different, I changed settings. So, that's why it sounds a lot better. So, congrats, Ty Zolf, on getting first. We are talking about politics. So let me give the rundown because I know a lot of people will probably not know what I'm talking about because I know my audience is not in Alberta. So this person on screen, right here, this is the premier, which... Another way of putting it is they're essentially the leader of the province. The province that I live in. She is from the Conservative Party. Governor for Americans. Yeah, thank you. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I like her. In fact, I quite hate her. I think that she is an awful leader. Basically stereotype conservatives, like every single one, using wedge issues to prove their point, to sow strife and all that. And that's basically what you got here. This quack one time was like, guys, the unvaccinated are the most... Let me actually make sure this is true, because I did only hear this from someone, so I don't want to just spout something. Danielle Smith says unvaccinated are the most oppressed. Nope, it's real. It is in fact true. She did in fact say unvaccinated are the most discriminated against group. Because I guess there's no other minorities that exist. Or other groups of people that have been discriminated against at all. Shocking. So, yeah, basically... The whole, my body, my choice to get the vaccine. God forbid, though, someone wants to get a transition. then I'm gonna do everything I can to stop it, which gets into this. To read this out. Gender identity can be a hard thing to talk about, especially when you are involved, but this conversation is extremely important and parental involvement is critical. Kids need to know we love and support them. My message to all Albertans. So on the surface, it doesn't look that bad. But we get into the video. This is 7 minutes long, and I can elaborate on why this is not the case.
My fellow Albertans, today I wish to address a very sensitive issue involving our children and gender identity. This is not always an easy conversation to have. I strongly believe that we as a society must support and reach out with kindness and inclusion to those who identify as transgender and work to eliminate the discrimination they often experience in their lives. As Premier of this province, I want every Albertan that identifies as transgender to know I care deeply about you and I accept you as you are.
Alberta still doesn't acknowledge / teach about residential schools. They do kind of. But I think that, I don't know if that's the curriculum or if it was just the teachers I had. Because we did bring up some of the later news that came out about how there were mass graves of Indigenous students. So clearly, there is still work to be done. But we are getting a little bit better. As for her statement, though, it seems very rich coming from the person who is actively, as we're about to see, campaigning to make sure that it is very hard for people to actually, or youth in particular, to actually get that treatment that they need. Sometimes life-saving treatment for them, which I will go into now.
As long as I lead this province, I will ensure you are supported and your rights are protected. In the case of children aged 17 and under who identify as transgender, I also want you to know that you are loved and supported as you work through your often changing emotions, feelings, and beliefs. As we all know, children and teenagers are in a constant state of biological, social, emotional, and sexual development and change. They're constantly learning about themselves, trying new things, dealing with biological changes, and trying to understand a wide range of new thoughts and feelings. It's a very complicated time. In my view, one of the greatest responsibilities we as parents, teachers, and community leaders have is to preserve for our children the right to grow and develop into mature adults so that they are better prepared to make the most impactful decisions affecting their lives. Decisions like choosing a career, a partner, raising children, their interaction with legal drugs like alcohol and cannabis, their sexual activities and preferences, and many other adult choices. It is my view that list of adult choices includes deciding whether or not to alter one's biological sex. Making permanent and irreversible decisions regarding one's biological sex while still a youth can severely limit that child's choices in the future. Prematurely encouraging or enabling children to alter their very biology or natural growth, no matter how well-intentioned and sincere, poses a risk to that child's future that I, as Premier, am not comfortable with permitting in our province.
So we're already getting into the first problem with what you're saying. I support or trans youth. Also, you're not allowed to get HRT or anything of that sort. Cause that's, oh my god. Oh my god. I support trans youth. Let me just start spouting rhetoric that we've been using to make this a wedge issue when it's never been an issue. How long has it been possible to get HRT? Alberta sanctioned transitioning. When did this start? Okay, so this is stuff from... Okay. When did funding for transition surgeries from AHS start. AHS is Alberta Health Services. June 2012. This was during June 2012. And if we look at premiers for Alberta, let's look. So we're going to scroll all the way down. Danielle Smith. We were in Allison Redford. Progressive Conservative Party. This was from, is it NDP in 2012? No. NDP was 2015, 2019. But yeah, Progressive Conservative Party, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure is what the United Conservative Party became. Let's see. It was a merger between the Progressive Conservative Association and Wild Rose. So yeah, it is a Progressive Conservative is a part of United Conservative. You guys literally made this thing. I know Alberta was weird and was NDP versus Conservative rather than Liberal / Conservative. It's very weird here. To put it a bit bluntly, the way Alberta is set up is proof for why first past the post is a terrible system, because it makes two-party the elections. So if we look at election results, Alberta 2023. Official results. Let's see. Okay, can we get like a infographic of sorts? Can we? Is there an infographic? CBC typically does one. Yeah. So, let's see. Most of it went to NDP, New Democratic Party, and United Conservative. But then if we look at show all results, you then have like a bunch of votes going towards all sorts of different parties. Alberta Party is basically NDP. And they go vote for them. So in the end, those are votes that could go towards NDP and then just go towards nothing. Like, let's be real here. If you didn't vote NDP or United Conservative, you basically did not. Your vote was quite literally wasted. You basically would have been better off just not voting, because no one in any of the other parties, although Ghost, got elected. And that made up, let's see, 0.7, 0.2, so 0.9, 0.17, 0.19, 0.22, 0.25, 32, 33. So 0.33% of the votes here basically just went towards nothing. And then on top of all of this, crap, what was I gonna say? I feel very dumb right now. Oh yeah, on top of this, here's the amount of people that actually voted. How many people voted in the Alberta 2023 election? Let's see, what's the percentage? For turnout rate, 59.5%. Turnout rate, oh no, Ontario was abysmal in the last provincial election. Oh yeah, the turnout rate is terrible. It's around 59.5%. So less than half of, so there's around half of the total population decided to just not vote, I guess. Which just, that's insane to me. From what I've been told, a lot of the reason that conservative gets voted in a lot of the time, despite the fact that the if you look with the youth, we're swinging more towards NDP, which is more like left, is because a lot of them just don't simply vote, and then a lot of the rural areas are the ones that vote conservative. So then that's what ends up happening. It's just stupid. So, yeah, basically, reason we're even in this mess is because some people just refuse to go in to vote. Oh my god. Yeah, here's what the election looked like. So if you look, a lot of the major cities, Banff, Calgary, almost all of Calgary, with the exception of like some areas, are orange, which is NDP. And then, now where's Edmonton? I don't think Edmonton has its own. Do they? Yeah, look at Edmonton. Edmonton's orange, like almost entirely. Edmonton has to, yeah. And then this is all the rural areas. We are essentially being forced into a conservative government because exclusively of the rural areas. It's stupid. Just, oh my god, it's so dumb. It is, I don't think, was it majority government? That's the question. Let's see. Okay, this is also for student vote. Stop talking about politics, get on Warzone. I'm not. This is student vote, so this is what the students were voting for. This is mock election. When you look at student voting, the vote swings far left. Relevant XKCD. Let's see this. Webcomic of romance, sarcasm, math. Our site's users, subscribers to Martha Stewart living, consumers of furry pornography. The business implications are clear. Pet peeve 208. Geographic profile maps, which are basically just population maps. Yep. It basically was just population diff. But let's get back to this. I think the one thing I am going to point out here is that it was the Conservative Party that put this in. It wasn't some rogue left-wing woke party that they're trying to say. It was literally them.
Similarly, the risks and unfair advantages that young women and girls are experiencing when competing with biologically stronger transgender females in sporting competitions have also grown too high.
What's your proof? Because the only thing I have heard is it's just been happening. We don't have any proof that it's happening, but like, it's young people's sports. It's not the Olympics. What? So you're going to completely sanction off transitioning for this reason? Like, what? Okay, first off, no one is transitioning to get an advantage in sports. If you're doing that, I'm sorry, you are dumb. That is the dumbest thing you have ever done. You are going to alter your entire biological makeup just to win at sports. That is so petty. No one's doing that. Number two, how is this relevant at all to what you're talking about? You just talked about, like, biological makeup and stuff and, like, altering bodies. What on earth does sports have to do with this? This is just, you're just actively trying to divide people at that point.
After much discussion, the government caucus and I have therefore decided to implement the following policies and guidelines as it relates to transgender minors and athletes, including additional supports to assist transgender adults to secure the healthcare they need and the counseling support for youth identifying as transgender to ensure they can successfully work their way through their complex feelings and emotions as they grow to adulthood. First, on the issue of gender reassignment treatments for minors. For minors aged 17 and under, top and bottom gender reassignment surgeries will not be permitted. For children aged 15 and under, puberty blockers and hormone therapies for the purpose of gender reassignment or affirmation will also not be permitted.
This is stupid, okay? I think it is worth noting that they talk about puberty blockers and stuff as if this is going to alter you forever. That's not how the puberty blockers work. Puberty blockers don't, like, destroy the things that make puberty happen. It just temporarily blocks it from happening. There's no... It's not going to affect you in the long run. Unless you just... They just delay puberty. That's all it does. If it had scientific ramifications, we wouldn't be doing it. That's simple as. It's so dumb that these people think that they're smarter than actual doctors who prescribe this stuff. You're the government. You don't know anything about this stuff. If it was the Department of Health coming out about this and saying there's actually, evidence to support that it would cause harm to the body, that would make a lot more sense. But this is, number one, a very right-wing candidate who's been known to make very bad remarks towards the LGBT community. And on top of this being a very good wedge issue for right-wing candidates, because that's all they have. That's literally all they have. I want someone to name one time you have ever heard a right-wing candidate say something about fixing a problem or solving an issue like poverty or homelessness without it turning into a it's because of this person's fault or because of that thing's fault. I want you to, if you can do it one time, I would genuinely be surprised. There probably is like a couple of situations, but it's not often because that's all they have. At this point, they have to reach, and people still fall for it.
Of gender reassignment or affirmation will also not be permitted, with the exception of those who've already commenced their treatment at this time.
So if it's so dangerous, standard reactionary rhetoric, they blame a group to avoid the problem. Yeah.
Minors aged 16 and 17 will be permitted to commence hormone therapies for gender reassignment and affirmation purposes, so long as they are deemed mature enough to make these decisions and have parental, physician, and psychologist approval.
Okay, first off, number one, I don't know if you realize this, Miss Smith, but most parents, especially in this province, are not very progressive. In fact, they're quite the opposite. I don't know if you've seen your voting, but last time I checked, it did not swing left. We did not get a left-wing government. We've got you. Just the whole idea of, let the parents know. It's like, I don't know if they've realized this, but part of the reason why so many stuff like GSAs, gender sexuality alliances, which are safe spaces for LGBT youth, part of the reason why they don't actually require a like parental like approval or anything, is because it has been shown that those spaces and being able to get that support is extremely beneficial and crucial, especially if they don't get that support in at home, in school, like anywhere else. It it's sad because I know so many people. Hell, there's people that go to GSAs just because the people there are just genuinely nice people. Well, and this constant reactionary post to be like, oh, we need to make sure the parents know. It's like, why do the parents need to know? What purpose does that serve? We're not California. Most of our, I can wager that most people are not going to be supportive. So I don't get this.
For transgender adults, our government is currently working to attract one or more medical professionals to practice in Alberta who specialize in transgender surgery to ensure those individuals transitioning have access to an expert in Alberta to assist them with their extremely unique and complex medical needs, rather than going to Quebec, which is now the practice. We will also be building a private registry of medical professionals who specialize in this field to better support the lifelong healthcare needs of transgender Albertans, including access to needed hormones and surgery aftercare. When it comes to classroom instruction on subject matter...
So I think it's worth noting that the surgery and all that, we already have that. Now, it's good that they want to make it better, but I don't know. This just seems it seems so reverse. So when it comes to the kids, no, it's going to alter them in ways that we can't understand. But once you turn to 18, it's just to go nuts. I'm sorry, but like this whole rhetoric that kids are being groomed into transitioning is such a stupid take. Like, what are you really telling me that kids will do this just to, like, why would they? It's just so, it's so demeaning towards kids as well, because they're smart. Like, okay, I think it's also worth noting how transition actually works for young adults, like, which I'm going to young teen adult. I'm gonna start from 12 to around 18. You don't go from puberty blocker. You don't go to HRT immediately and all that. You have to do a lot of things. You get a diagnosis. You need to make sure you most people who are trans and gender don't just magically don't always feel, oh, this is exactly what I want. That's not always the case. There's a lot of stewing over that, a lot of questions of whether or not that's what they want. So the fact that these people think that it's just a snap, I want to be trans now, it's so immature. It's the same thing with religion. Like, I'm sure most people who transition over to Christianity from a different religion or atheism, they didn't just take it in overnight. They didn't just go, hey, I'm into this stuff, and just started preaching about the Holy Gospel. It took time. I think it shows that they don't understand the subject at all. And what I hate is that they're talking about this whole, oh, we're helping with like transgender care and all that. It's like, you're only saying this so that way people can point to that part and be like, no, they actually are helping. They're just trying to make sure that the kids don't do it and all that. But
to better support the lifelong healthcare needs of transgender Albertans, including access to needed hormones and surgery aftercare. When it comes to classroom instruction on subject matter involving gender identity, sexual orientation, or human sexuality, we will be requiring parental notification and an opt-in requirement for each instance a teacher intends to give formal instruction on these subjects. Furthermore, all third-party resource materials or presentations related to gender identity, sexual orientation, or human sexuality in our K through 12 school system will need to be pre-approved by the Ministry of Education to ensure the materials are age appropriate. For a minor, age 15 and under, the government will require parental notification and consent for a school to alter the name or pronouns of a child.
This this is what I'm talking about. You know, go to bed. It's okay, listen, Hunter. It's what? 7:43 p.m. I'm allowed to be up now. Okay? I don't want to hear nothing about how I should go to bed because I am well within my rights to be up at this time. Don't tell me what to do. But anyway, as I was saying, let's go back a bit.
Matter involving gender identity, sexual orientation, or human sexuality, we will be requiring parental notification and an opt-in requirement for each instance a teacher intends to give formal instruction on these subjects.
So, my question about this is, why is this necessary? Like, I get it because we already do that for the human sexuality course. Like, that requires you to do that. But why also on the subject of topics relating to LGBTQ? I think if anything, that just hurts more than it helps. Because, especially for me, for instance, I was extremely homophobic and transphobic. Like, across the board. It wasn't because I like hated the idea of it. It's just because I didn't understand it. I thought it was weird. But once it was explained to me and it was given to me in a digestible form through the school system, you know, I was more respectful of it. That's what that education does. It's not going to groom your kid into thinking that making them gay or something. That's not how that works. Oh my God.
Furthermore, all third-party resource materials or presentations related to gender identity, sexual orientation, or human sexuality in our K through 12 school system will need to be pre-approved by the Ministry of Education to ensure the materials are age appropriate.
Okay, let's take a guess. Who runs the Ministry of Education? Let's take a guess. Could you guess that the current leader is probably in talks with the conservative government, meaning that this will just end up being not very good? At Alberta UCP. Whoa! What? Ministers appointed. Yeah, actually, that's true. I didn't even think of that. So, wow, who would have... So, we have to go through you to tell us what's good for us. Why? Why? You don't know anything about the subject. Oh my God.
For a minor, age 15 and under, the government will require parental notification and consent for a school to alter the name or pronouns of a child.
Why? It's just what they're called. It's not we're not changing government names. This is not something like big that would actually have ramifications, like their taxes would kind of be messed up because, you know, the name's off, which that's actually something you should be aware of. If your taxes do say like a wrong name, like if it's a misspelling, get that changed right away because that is actually important. But besides that, why does this require the parental consent? Also, what happens if it's unsafe for the kid? Do they get snitched on anyway? I want to know how many teachers will actually fall into line with this. Because I have a weird feeling this will be one of those things where it's said, but I don't think it's actually enforced. Because I doubt most schools, at least here, will do this. If they do, I'll be shocked. If they did, it'll probably be because some crackdown by the head. That's my guess for it anyway. But let's move on.
For 16 and 17-year-olds who choose to alter their name or pronouns, parents do not need to give consent, but they must be notified.
So they don't need to give consent for
Year-olds who choose to alter their name or pronouns, parents do not need to give consent.
So parents do not need to give consent for if they're 16 or 17, but they will be informed regardless. Again, I don't think you understand. The issue here is that most parents, at least in this province, are not very accepting of that. You are putting them in harm's way. I might try and contact some teachers to see how they're going to go about this, because I have a weird feeling that I hope teachers don't actually follow this, because, oh God. I don't know how they would go about, like, enforcing that. It just seems odd.
But they must be notified. We know that nearly...
If they make it a law, it has to be done. I mean, that's true, but also, like, let's say, hypothetically, Timmy asked the teacher, hey, instead of calling me Timmy, can I be called Vanessa and use pronouns she, her? Who's there to report the teacher? Are the teachers gonna snitch? I don't think the teachers would snitch on each other. I hope they don't snitch on each other. I don't think they're looking through the cameras to see who's doing it. I don't know. It seems odd to enforce.
All parents, even those who may disagree with the decision of their children.
So she knows that there are parents that would disagree, but they should still know. Yeah, the kid might get abused, but dad's gotta know.
Children will love and care for their children no matter what choices they make.
That's not true. If that was the case, then they wouldn't have to tell the teachers. They would just tell their parents and then get the entire thing changed.
However, in the handful of rare situations where one or both of the parents reject or become abusive to a child who identifies as transgender, we have child protection laws that will be strictly enforced.
Or alternatively, hey, here's the other idea. You could just not tell the parents. Why do they have to go into child protective services for this? Like, do you know how much of a uprooting child being, like, I'm not here to say that CPS doesn't do good work, because in some situations they are necessary, but in some situations it could just be avoided. I don't get this. This is just, you're just making the problem worse, or complicating it for no reason. This is a pointless use of resources. This is an already strained system that you're just going to strain more. I just don't get this. Also, I don't think they realize this, but CPS is not this end-all, like, oh, just bring in CPS, instant situation solved. That's not how that works. CPS, depending on how stuff is going currently, CPS might actually be the worst thing to do, because then what will happen is they'll be put into the foster care system, which, I don't know if you guys know this, but the foster care system kind of sucks.
Who identifies as transgender, we have child protection laws that will be strictly enforced. The government is also designing a pilot project to provide appropriate counseling services to support parents and youth identifying as transgender to work through the unique challenges these families face. We encourage all teachers, parents, classmates, and youth volunteers to be on the watch for any instances of bullying of youth or children for any reason, so adults can assist with putting a stop to it the moment it is detected. Our government also needs to deal with the emerging issue of the unfair disadvantages that young women and girls are experiencing when competing with biologically stronger transgender female athletes in sporting competition.
Why is this in the same thing as talking about like not letting them get being able to transition and stuff? Like, that's stupid. In Florida, there's a worse teacher shortage, if I recall. I'm not surprised. I mean, with funny Ron DeSantis running that state, I'm not surprised because he just actively makes it worse for teachers while not doing anything to try and help. I would not be surprised if most teachers the teacher shortage is exclusively an issue of it just not being, like affordable for people, especially with how the economy's been going.
I strongly believe that those who were born male but have transitioned to or identify as female are owed the opportunity to meaningfully participate in sport. However, there are obvious biological realities that give transgender female athletes a massive competitive advantage over women and girls. It is not beneficial for those women, including those who are transgender, for this divisive and sometimes dangerous situation to continue. That is why the Alberta government...
So I've heard this thing a lot about the whole debate about whether trans women should be able to compete with cis women in sporting events. And one thing I have to say is that if is the advantage like actually that significant? Because I see a lot of those videos like, oh, this one guy beats an entire women's soccer team, but it's like, is it because biology, or is it just a skill diff? Because biology, at the end of the day, isn't skill diff. Your skill isn't based on your genetics. Your skill is based on how much time you put into the craft. So you can chalk up most of those videos to just simply, most of the time, women's sports is just kind of underfunded in a lot of cases.
Hey, just a quick note on the whole sports thing. It is actually skill diff.
Is it?
It actually is skill diff. It has nothing to do with biology.
Well, because, like, there are some... I'm not here to say that, like, the biology doesn't exist, but the biology argument does exist to some capacity, but does it exist to the capacity that they're saying? Because I don't think that it's to this extent. Because they're acting as if, like, this is, like, turning on aimbot in a CSGO lobby where it's, like, instant win. It's, like, we always talk about, like, oh, the trans athlete that won against the cis female athlete. But what about the trans male athlete that beat a cis male? Are they not the trans male's at a competitive disadvantage. So I just always think about Caster's Semenya. I don't know what that means.
It will work with sporting organizations active in our province to ensure that women and girls have the choice to compete in a women's only division in athletic competitions and are not forced to compete against biologically stronger transgender female athletes. We will also work with those same sporting organizations to ensure transgender athletes are able to meaningfully participate in the sport of their choice through the expansion of co-ed or other gender-neutral divisions for athletic competition.
Also, an intersex woman who was forced to take T blockers to participate in the Olympics. Oh. Wait, that's true. So what happens if you're intersex and you take, like, T blockers or something? Or you have to, because I know there aren't there, because everyone has testosterone, like, Is there conditions for girls where they have to take testosterone because their T level is like dangerous, or no? Um anyway,
I understand how controversial and divisive discussions on topics of sexuality and gender can be, especially when those conversations involve children. I would therefore ask that as we work through implementing these policies, that we, as adults in this province, do all we can to depoliticize the discussion and focus on the well-being of the children involved, whether they are young people identifying as transgender or who find themselves attracted to those of the same sex, or simply trying to understand the complex and often changing emotions and feelings of being teenagers.
so we should depoliticize this thing, says the political figure that is limiting access to how trans youth can get puberty blockers, HRT, and surgery. Do they not realize that you can't just get this stuff all willy-nilly? You have to get approved by a doctor and all that? Why is the government the one stopping me? It should be the doctor stopping me. Really isn't any logic to it. It just seems like Michael Phelps can be a biological fish, man. But if a woman has a biological advantage, she has to take T blockers.
They all need our unconditional love and support. And it's to those children and teens that I want to say just how much we love you and support you in becoming the person you want to be. You never have to feel alone or isolated. If you do, reach out to your parents, family members, teachers, a coach, or other trusted adults and ask for support. We, as the adults in your life, will be there for you to make sure you know just how amazing and precious you are. Thank you for listening.
I think this thing I put in the quote tweet probably says it best.
Shut the fuck up. You're a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. You're a stupid cunt. Suck my dick. Shut the fuck up.
Like, this is just dumb. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. Most team sports probably don't need to be gender segregated. Yeah. My question also is, what sports will be segregated and what won't be? Because, like, isn't there women's chess? Are we going to make the argument that that people assigned male at birth are smarter? Because that's an interesting case to be making. But anyway, I appreciate everyone that came in here to listen to my ramblings. Not many people did, but to the few that did, I appreciate it. Thank you, Ghost, Hunter, Heiself, and Kathy for coming in. This is an issue that is pretty important to me, so I did want to talk about it a little bit. As for actual into open and women, genuinely, that's so stupid. Anyway, as for our normal streams, I'll try to come back sometime this week. No promises though, because I don't know, to be honest, if I'll feel up for it or not. But thank you all for listening. I'll try to come back with actual streams and all that, and a schedule probably next week. I will send you all over to my good friend Voss, who's streaming. No one, I can't think of anyone else that's really streaming right now that I want to raid, so I'll just send you guys over to Voss. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Actual stuff coming soon. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.